everyone. This is Michelle Gramoglia, the President and CEO here at Woodland Pond, and this is my weekly address for Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, April 1st, 2025. Unlike last week, which was an extremely long and very informative, from what most have said, weekly address, I have very little to talk about today. So we're not going to belabor this. I will go through what we have, and then I will say I'll see you next week. Uh, what took so long last week was related to the copious amounts of suggestions and items in the rumor mill that we had accumulated over the preceding 2 weeks. And this week we have none. So I guess there's no rumors and no concerns to go in the suggestion box. We will extend the content-specific suggestion requests related specifically to housekeeping and plant ops or facilities. So anything maintenance, housekeeping, waste stream, anything that kind of is in Tom or Rob's domain. If you would like to put any suggestions, questions, rumors related to those items or anything in general into the suggestion box in the mailroom, please go ahead and do that, and we will look at them next week. We don't have anything super exciting on the calendar this week, with the exception of the fact that the Starlight Trio will be here on Friday at 2:45. We know that's always a fan favorite. Gretchen has asked me to remind folks about the various different ways that we do communicate announcements and reminders. She is hopeful that the residents that have been here for a long time and the newer residents are aware of how much we live stream on WPTV channel 1340 and each of the other avenues that we do communicate things like the Woodland Life newsletter, the constant contact emails that come out of Lindsay's office nearly every day with one topic or another, the Chanticleer. And if there are any residents that are interested in having us communicate anything on any of these, including my weekly address or Dave Roberts' weekly address related to the construction projects, just run it through us and we will get the word out on anything that comes up. Just a couple of specific things for this week. The fitness room in the community building is going to be closed today and tomorrow because the pool pack, which is the HVAC unit for the pool, is just about done. All of the engineering and certification is just about complete on that. And one of the things that had happened while we were in between the old pool pack and the new pool pack was that there was a great deal of humidity that accumulated in those spaces because the pool is heated and so forth. And even with the blowers, there was a humidity condition. Some of that did leach into the fitness room, and we want to replace the acoustical ceiling tiles in both in the affected areas in the pool and in the fitness room because they can, absorb some moisture. We don't need that, so we're replacing those acoustical tiles. We do expect, hopefully, that the pool will be open, if not before then, definitely starting on Monday again. So that's exciting. But just stay tuned to that. That's not a firm date. I'm just suggesting that. We have welcomed a new assisted living and garden view unit manager as of yesterday. You should have received in your email today a constant contact update from Lindsay, which contains the general operational org chart for Woodland Pond, and then a really deep dive into your contacts for all things in the health center. And when you look at that, you'll see that we've moved to a little bit of a different format, and we've used this format now for about a year or more. But you kind of just have a pictorial version of an org chart to start. And then for the health center, we really thought it was important for folks to be able to identify who do I go to for what, and what do they look like, what's their contact info, and so forth. So if you haven't had a chance to look at that, please go ahead and do that. You would have seen in the Chanticleer on Friday that we are now back booking with the car detailer, so the automobile detail gentleman that comes and does both an interior and an exterior detailing of your vehicle. And so if you're interested in scheduling for someone to come vacuum out and clean out the inside of your car, get it nice and spiffy, and wash the exterior. You can do that through concierge. And really, I mean, that's kind of the bulk of it right now. The only thing I wanted to just touch on briefly before I say goodbye on this very short address is I did receive yesterday quite a bit of response to an email that went out on BraveNet, which we then ended up, communicating based on. But this was something related to a resident seeking to organize or encourage folks to participate in, I guess, a protest of some sort that's coming up, political protest of some sort that's coming up this week. And the then suggestion that perhaps a Woodland Pond ban would be requested to take residents to such an event. And like it or not, those are both Woodland Pond avenues, and Woodland Pond cannot participate in any organized political activity in terms of anything like that, unless there's an equal and offsetting opportunity for things to happen. We have to be extremely careful, extremely balanced, and Woodland Pond related things. That being said, so any kind of solicitation should not be happening on BraveNet. That is, and that's the Woodland Pond Resident Forum. It's very clear in our handbook that residents should be able to lead a solicitation-free lifestyle. So certainly we can't allow that to continue on a Woodland Pond forum. Whatever you're doing personally in your own email, in your own communications, we can only tell you what the policy is, but that's not our mechanism. But on our mechanism, we can't do things that are in conflict with our approved and accepted policies in our handbook. It doesn't fly. Similarly, same thing with any kind of a Woodland Pond transport or that kind of thing. Again, what you do behind closed doors is obviously your choice. The handbook could not be clearer as to where the Woodland Pond policy starts and stops. And this is not just related to political activity and solicitation. This is related to every policy. And I think that it's always a good idea for residents to consult with the handbook if there's an issue that comes up or something that you're questioning. How do we navigate this? What's the position of Woodland Pond on this? I think it's very important for folks to know that some of the contents in the handbooks, whether it's independent living or one of the handbooks for one of the units in the health center, some of the items in those handbooks are contractually derived. In other words, they've come from your residence and care agreement, or they've come from the admission agreement that is in place for the health center units. But a good portion of the items that are in there are mutually agreed to policies that have been reviewed and accepted in each of the most recent handbook reviews. And for those that might not be familiar with how that process works, every couple of years we do a full and comprehensive review of all of the policies in the handbooks. And the way that works is that first, the executive team does a brush through. If there's anything, departmentally that needs to change, hours in the dining room that have changed, we're offering a new service, we've eliminated a service, whatever it is, we go through it first. And then typically what's happened in the last couple of iterations is that there is actually a task force of any interested resident on the residence council or not to be part of a task force to then do their own review and recommendation of policy changes. And that task force has historically been open to any resident that wishes to participate. We get very few participants, but it is open to all residents. So that resident task force then adds their proposed edits onto whatever the exec team has proposed. And then that final edited or draft edited document goes to the residence council for an extensive review. And this is a months-long process each time we do it, and residents are heavily involved in this. So then ultimately, at the end of the day, we can all look at each other and say, okay, this is either contractually obligated or we've all come to a consensus on the document that is presented to you and the policies therein. other than things that are contractually obligated or obviously legally obligated or law, the policies are fluid. And they can be reconsidered and they can be revised. And the process that a resident would follow to seek a process or policy adjustment in the handbook would be to find that policy, determine if there's an existing committee that is related to that particular policy. I'll use pets as an example. That's one that we've reviewed and modified a number of times. At this point, we do actually have a pet group, which we didn't have before. So naturally, if you had a proposed revision to the pet policy, I would suggest, bring it to the pet ponders for consideration. And then that all could go through to the residents council through an ear session. Ultimately, the residents council will decide, if they want to take it up or not. And then the process would continue. But any policy that gets revised, obviously, can be an impetus from a resident. It can be an impetus from a resident committee or the residents council, or it can be from the exec team. But no changes can be made until all groups are in a consensus about the change. I just want to make sure that that's clear. And there's history on a lot of these policies. In some cases, we've had to consult with legal counsel. Some of them are more sensitive than others. But what you see has been come to by consensus again, but there is obviously a mechanism to change it. And I just want to make sure everyone is aware of how that works. I did get a couple of folks very upset, asking me to remind everyone that as the political chaos continues, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, it's undeniably chaotic right now. We have a pretty strong constituency of folks that lean left, that are very vocal. But we also know that, I think it was Joy Dreyer that shared with us that as of the last count, 150 of our residents were registered Democrats, which means the balance, which is a total of 365 residents, are not registered Democrats. And so it's a hard situation. We all get it. Right now, there is a lot of strong feelings about what's going on, but there are people here that may not be vocal. Just based on the voter rolls, we know that there is just a very strong contingency of residents that are either independent or Republican or not registered at all. There's no easy answer to this. I feel like we're kind of in the same place that we were, if not even more heightened tension than we were before the election. And I think that if folks have questions about how to navigate a specific circumstance, that can run through my office. It can certainly run through Bridget Blum's office, which is the corporate compliance officer. She has a blank checkbook to take any concerns to our legal counsel, which will guide us on these very sensitive issues. You certainly take it to the residents council. You're not alone in this. We are all feeling, obviously, a lot of unrest, I guess I would say, and some people are feeling a lot of unease, but we are a community and luckily insulated from a lot of the issues that are affecting certain communities, certain groups of people, but we're not completely immune. And we will just have to continue to navigate this as we have for the last couple of years. Always willing to talk about it and wanting to hear some feedback from residents. Thank you. Late breaking. We have undertaken, Lindsay's just reminding me, we've undertaken a pickup of the review process that Kathleen Desmarie had started last year before she took her new role in the health center, to verify that for all residents that we have all of your required paperwork and that it's all up to date in terms of healthcare proxies, power of attorney, most forms, your medical insurance cards, your tenants insurance, your refund designation forms, your vehicle insurance, and there's probably another one that I'm forgetting. We have a pretty good sense as to where we were when Kathleen left off on this last year, but Mary Alexander and Lindsay and maybe some additional administrative staff are going to be working on this. So there's a very good possibility that we will be contacting you to make sure that you've updated any of those that are no longer current, and that the tenant insurance, for example, is compliant with the requirement of the contract, lists Woodland Pond as the additionally insured, and so forth. So we're running through that audit now. It's going to take us some time. I would say it'll take us at least a week or two. So we won't be in touch with everybody right away. But if you haven't done so recently, and you're a resident or a family member of a resident, it would be a good time for you just to kind of look at each of those documents, make sure that they're either in order or you know what needs to happen in order to get them in order. So it's current vehicle insurance if you're a driver or a car owner, the tenant's insurance policy that's required under your contract, uh, optional healthcare proxy, power of attorney, your refund designation form, your copies of your medical insurance cards, and so forth. So we will be helping to audit that, but if you have things, you can preemptively do that. And then the last thing Lindsay's reminding me about is if you have not turned in your resident displacement form, which is the form that she sent out both in a paper copy, a Word document, and a fillable PDF last week. This was pursuant to one of the questions that came up related to safety preparedness. Please make sure that you get that displacement form into Lindsay. We're working on making sure that all the records are updated and current, and we are digitizing things as we go. Fun stuff. If you have anything that you need or any questions, you all know where to find me, and I hope you have a fantastic day.